Fires of Churchill Downs, where for 115 years, the most prestigious horse race in the world is run every year here. It's the Run for the Roses, the Kentucky Derby. Hi, everyone. I'm Richard Leek. We're in Louisville, Kentucky. It's the next stop on the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge, up next on ESPN. And welcome to Power Tracks. For the first time of 1989, we have moved outside. It's a beautiful day in Louisville, Kentucky. But Army Armstrong, we're talking about racing a new breed with these monsters because outdoors, it's nothing like indoors.
No, it's a whole new world. Indoors, we just came off the winter tour. They've been running straight over cars, about a 400-foot long track. This track, a half-mile in length. They're going to have to run the inside and the outside. If you start on the inside, you must finish in the outside lane. It's set up like a figure eight. They're going to have to jump 30 cars, not once, but twice, in order to determine who will advance into the next round, Richard.
And so the track is going to be tough. The competition even tougher. Now, the current national points leader, Dennis Anderson, is not going to be here due to a recent breakdown with the Gravedigger. So the favorite today is going to be this gentleman here, David Morris, the driver of the Equalizer. Now, he's only a rookie on the circuit, but he's number 2 in the national point standings. And, David, this is a whole new ball game going outside. We're used to seeing your power on a straight shot. How are you going to work a figure eight?
Well, it's going to be a lot different. Here you're going to have a whole lot of speed. You got to go along with that speed. You have turning. It's just going to be a lot different than your drag style racing. You're just going to have to use a good strategy with it.
But you'll be ready to rock and roll.
I'll be ready.
All right, so David Morris, Equalizer, is ready. Army is ready. I'm ready. We're going to be back with first round action in a moment on ESPN.
Power Tracks and the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge is brought to you by the Heartbeat of America, today's Chevy trucks.
On my old Kentucky home, welcome everybody to the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge from the Louisville Motor Speedway. We have a capacity crowd on hand on a very hot, sunshiny afternoon, and we are about ready to go side-by-side racing. Carolina Crusher, Gary Porter, he is going to be our top qualifier today, so he is going to get a bye run. As a matter of fact, he just made his bye run, and he'll move on into the quarterfinals. Side-by-side, it's going to be Bennett Clark and Clydesdale taking on the Thunder Chicken and Kid Raring. Now, Gravedigger and Dennis Anderson is scheduled to race Barbarian, but we don't think Gravedigger is going to make it due to a breakdown. Mike Wine, Jersey Outlaw against Stomper and Marvin Smith. The Equalizer, David Morris, takes on the Ford, no problem, of John Moore.
Well, Richard, a beautiful Louisville, Kentucky, normally known for horsepower of a different kind, is going to see the best in monster truck racing as the TNT Motorsports. By the way, Louisville is the home of TNT Motorsports. Going to put on a tremendous show, and like you say, the crowd here, fantastic at Louisville Motor Speedway.
And our first race is going to have the Thunder Chicken and Kid Raring. It's a new truck up against Clydesdale and Bennett Clark, and this is a figure eight track, remember, so it's going to be a long race time-wise, and on the inside, Bennett's got the edge.
Okay, now Bennett's going to start off on the inside. He'll finish the course on the outside. Kid Raring, driving the new Thunder Chicken truck, was not able to make a gear selection that he needed, and really, I'm going to go ahead and say that Clydesdale is going to advance into the next round due to the gearing problem they're having with the Thunder Chicken. Now, the Chicken will have the inside course or the short way around for the last half of the race, Richard Lee.
The Thunder Chicken right now, Army, looking a little bit more like a wounded chicken as Bennett Clark and Clydesdale is coming around for the last set of junk cars. He approaches the ramp, he backs down a little bit and makes it over easily, and here comes Kid Raring. He's going to be a loser while Bennett Clark gets the win. He advances into the quarterfinals.
So you keep an eye on that Georgia truck, the Clydesdale. That long wheelbase might just be the ticket on this long course, Richard.
Bennett Clark out of Powder Springs, Georgia. That is the longest monster truck on the circuit. He gets the win. And now here comes Starvin, Marvin Smith, the Stomper Chevrolet. Marvin, of course, is out of Arnold, Missouri, and he is taking a
then he's going to go right ahead. There's not going to be any question about him being legal for this run. So the Chevrolet, the Stomper, and Marvin Smith will be back in the next round of elimination.
No matter what happens here, I guarantee you the Outlaw will be disqualified for getting out of his driving lane. So let's give the win officially to Marvin Smith, the Stomper Chevrolet. What happened at the end there with Mike Wine, Army?
Well, the track crew indicated to him he was disqualified, so instead of going over the junk vehicles, he just decided to go ahead and pull off and save the equipment. A tough break for Wine. Believe me, he's an up-and-comer. We'll be seeing a lot of him in 1989.
All right, so a bad day here for the Jersey Outlaws. So one Ford is out of it. Maybe this Ford can have a better run. John Moore, no problem, out of Lafayette, Tennessee. And he is going to be taking on, whoa, what a dandy of a kid,
yeah,
David Morris. I call him Dangerous David Morris, the Equalizer Chevrolet. You know the story about this truck, built by a famous TNT puller by the name of Gary Cook.
Morris leaves like a rocket on the starting line, works the inside of the track. Now, John Moore with the Ford really looks like he's behind. It's about an even race at this point. Morris will back on the throttle to try to get lined up. Remember, the Chevrolet, the Equalizer we're looking at there, will finish on the outside of the track. Goes over the jump clean, Richard. Richard Leek, that's amazing how good that truck handles and how good that young man can drive it. He's having no problem at all with it, is he?
He is a smooth, young driver. Now he is going to back down just a little bit, save his equipment, it looks like, Army.
Yeah, he backed out of the throttle just a little bit. He knows where the no-problem Ford is. He's going into the next round now. One thing about the Equalizer, they'll go back and the crew will completely go over that truck and tighten it up. That's one thing they said they need to do. Racing at Louisville, you got to keep tightening that chassis up.
22-year-old David Morris moves on into the quarterfinal round, and that is where we're going to move when we come back with more on ESPN. Welcome back to Louisville Motor Speedway, the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge. You see Jim Miller, the driver of the Barbarian Ford out of Nokomis, Illinois. He is getting a bye run in the first round because the Gravedigger and Dennis Anderson, who he was supposed to race again, they broke a steering line in qualifying. They are out of the competition, so Jim Miller is going to move on easily, Army.
Well, it's a tough break for the Gravedigger fans. As we go across the country, Richard, you know the Gravedigger, one of the most popular trucks, but this is professional motorsport racing. You take your shot at what's laying on the table. The Barbarian made the call. The Gravedigger did not. Kind of an interesting situation. This kid will be back.
And another guy that's going to be back in a few minutes is John Moore, the driver of No Problem. And I know you spent the afternoon, Army, with John talking about how they're going to keep their engines cooled on this long, long race course.
Louisville, Kentucky is going to present a whole new set of problems for the monster truck drivers. The reason being the length of the track, the problem being heat. John Moore, how are you going to keep heat out of the No Problem Ford tonight?
Well, I believe we're just going to let it get a little warm and hope we get enough time in between rounds to cool it down.
Okay, now how will you cool it down between the rounds of competition?
Keep it on charge and run the electric fans and the water pumps and circulate water through the motor. From the time it takes us to get from the pits to line up will be at operating temperature. The distance of the race is going to pull major temperatures in these motors. Just the distance of the race is going to get them real hot.
Oil in this engine is going to be constantly getting hot, but it's also going to be doing something else. It's constantly going to be pushing away from the oil pan. Have you made any adjustments for that?
Well, the system is set up to crush cars. So to pump the pickup tubes in the back of the pan, we run a 12-quart oil pan, so we run a great big oil pan, a lot of oil down there, and I don't believe we're going to have a problem with it going off to the side.
Well, we're going to find out if there's a problem or not as John Moore comes out of the No Problem Ford. That's an 89 Ford Bronco, and he's going to be facing Bennett Clark, Clydesdale, which is an 89 Chevrolet. Army, do you have an edge for either one of these guys?
Yeah, I'm going to look at Clark just by the wheelbase of his truck. We talked earlier, it's a 144-inch long wheelbase, and No Problem is one of the shortest trucks on the circuit. I think the short truck will have an advantage indoors, but outdoors, the long truck is going to be the way to go, I believe. Clark currently in the lead, but you got to remember, No Problem gets the inside of the short course in the second half of the race, and he's coming back on him, Richard.
I noticed coming over that first set of junk cars also, Army, a lot of these guys are getting a lot of bounce as they come back on the asphalt track. Yeah, we got us a race here.
Yeah, they're really tightening up. I can't tell from...
Whoa, look out! Whoa, I thought we were going to have a crash there.
I couldn't tell who won it from my viewpoint. All I could see was they were both out of shape coming across that finish line.
It was Bennett Clark and Clydesdale nailing John Moore by inches at the finish line. He gets the win. Now our next racer to come out is Mike Wine. He was our second fastest loser in first round. He gets to come back, but he's on an outdoor track for the first time in his life. And Army talked to Mike Wine about that earlier this afternoon.
Mike Wine started in 1989 in a very impressive manner. His rookie year. The rookie had one thing going for him, though. All the tracks he's been running on up until right now were straight courses. Mike, a whole new different ball game. A half mile of turns, lefts and rights. How do you prepare for that?
Well, we did some little modification to the front steering to help me out steer a little bit sharper. Before, on a straighter course, it was nice. You just hold on and let it go. Now you have to turn right and left, so we made it a little bit quicker and did little minor things to the suspension to make it a little bit harder for me. See if that'll help me a lot.
Okay, now that's what you did to the truck. What do you do inside of your head to prepare to drive this truck for the first time, turning left and right?
I had it and drove it around a parking lot for a little while and talked to a lot of the other drivers that did race on this course last year. Then they had some tapes. I interviewed their tapes and watched what they did and did wrong and see if I can do a little bit better this year.
All right, that's a sign of a true professional driver, reviewing videotapes of other drivers to help him out, Army.
Yeah, but the other drivers, you know, they all know this is a tricky track. He's a veteran. They're really trying to help his guy. Ford, side by side, Richard Leek.
Might want to mention the other Ford is the Barbarian of Jim Miller out of Illinois, but it looks like thus far a runaway from Mike Wine and the Jersey Outlaw.
Okay, now he was talking about the adjustments they made on the steering of this truck to make it work left and right. It looks like the adjustments were good. They seem to work for him. The Barbarian starts to come back just a little bit, Richard.
See the bounce I'm talking about?
Yeah,
though.
what they're doing, they're getting a bad bounce. They're landing at the wrong time and it's throwing the suspension all out of kilter. However, the Outlaw holding on the inside. The Barbarian's got to come to high side on him.
Yep.
I don't know, Richard. They may tighten it up. Keep an eye. Jersey Outlaw. Yeah, Jersey Outlaw's going on.
27-year-old Mike Wine from Pensacola, New Jersey gets the win, and the Jersey Outlaw, he now moves into the semifinals against Bennett Clark, the driver of Clydesdale. Army, I hear you've got Bennett now.
Bennett, you going to the semis? Everything looking good?
Everything seems to be pretty good, except we got a little temperature building up in the motor right now. We're about 230 when I shut it off.
Okay, well, your crew's back there cooling it down right now. You got about 10 minutes. Will you be cool enough to go back into the lanes for the next round?
I think we can get it down around 190, 200 degrees. It's going to be hot on it for the next round.
And now we're going to find out who is going to be our other semifinalist. It will either be the Stomper of Starvin Marvin Smith. That, of course, is the 88 Chevrolet, or the Thunder Chicken of Kid Raring. Now, he's coming back as a fast loser, and he is driving an 89 Chevrolet S10.
Richard, you can keep an eye on this one. Stomper, I believe, has got it covered. And the reason being, Kid Raring, we told you earlier, was not able to make the proper adjustments to his transmission. He's running basically a gear. Normally, you and I would run only low gear in a straight shift car. You watch it, he cannot really go upstairs from the engine. Now, the Stomper's on the outside. He's really legging the engine, and Kid Raring basically just driving around with the Thunder Chicken.
And might want to make a point also, this is actually Kid's first race in this Thunder Chicken. He just bought it, and he really hasn't got it set up the way he wants yet.
Yeah, they're still trying to get the combination together, but I tell you, he's really impressing me. He's not quitting. He's staying after him. He's making everybody earn everything they've got to get past him with.
But it looks like an easy win for the Stomper of Starvin Marvin Smith as he heads to the last set of junk cars, and he slows down quite a bit to go up over him.
Yeah, I think that he was aware of the Thunder Chicken's position, not going to abuse the truck a whole lot. He's going to be coming back in the next round. Richard, we're down almost to the final four.
And I understand you have finally found Mike Wine, the driver of Jersey Outlaw. Army, let's talk to him about his upcoming semifinal matchup with Bennett Clark.
All right, Mike Wine, you're going to be going up against Bennett Clark and Clydesdale. How are you going to handle it?
I'm going to have to go out there and run pretty hard. He's a very good driver, and he's an experienced driver.
You know he's going to come after you real hard right at the finish line, so you're not going to be able to quit on this one.
Now, this one I'll be on it all the way.
Well, another guy that's going to be on it all the way is our fast qualifier, Gary Porter, Carolina Crusher out of Wadesboro, North Carolina. This is our first opportunity to see Gary actually in a side-by-side race because he was top qualifier. He got a bye run in that first round, and he's taking on a guy that could knock him off very easily. It is the equalizer, dangerous David Morris out of Tennessee. This guy, David, is currently #1 in the national point standings. Gary Porter is currently #3.
Boy, Richard, they left that starting line like a couple of drag cars, side by side. Even though they weigh 13,000 pounds, they were coming out smoking. Equalizer working the inside. Look at that kid out of Tennessee. He's attacking that track on the inside, but Porter will have the short way around in the second half. Can the equalizer hold him off? Porter's going after him. Oh, what a shot. Porter goes to the inside real quick, Richard. No, we've got problems with Porter. He's going into the infield. The equalizer's going to go to the next round. I have no idea What went away on a crusher?
Army, he came over that first set of junk cars, and it looked like he took a hard hit when he came down, possibly steering problem, as there you see the Equalizer get his win. And David looks back over at Gary Porter and gives him a wave, but we're going to have to check on what happened to Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher. When we come back, we'll have that report, plus we'll have our semifinal round of action on ESPN.
What it was, I wasn't quite used to it, but I think I'm going to run the outside next time, too. Because I like the outside, because when you get to the corner, it gives you an advantage going around the backside.
What do you think about this kid with the Equalizer? I tell you, you got a nail to the wall now. It's up to you.
I want to win bad. I tell you, I want to give him all he wants. I hope to beat him.
So we're going to see that race in a few minutes, but first, we've got the Jersey Outlaw, Mike Wine, the Ford, against the Chevrolet, Bennett, Clark, and Clydesdale, and it's a pretty even start.
Bennett Clark had a real good day today. He's working the inside of the track. The long wheelbase Chevrolet seems to be working for him.
Trouble
Outlaw
with the Ford.
having some steering problem with the Outlaw. Bennett Clark stays after it. You don't quit in this sport. First jump, he'll stay in his lane working around. Clark doing some heads-up driving. Richard, this could be the first time that Bennett Clark's going to go to a final.
The Outlaw's
He's got to be pumped up.
Mike Wine and the Outlaw is out of it. He has pulled his truck off the track. That means Bennett Clark will go to the championship.
For the first time this year, Clark's going to the championship with the awesome Georgia-based Clydesdale.
And there you see him bouncing, rocking, rolling across the finish line. Clydesdale and Bennett Clark will move into the final, the championship round, and he'll face the winner of our next race, either Equalizer or the Stomper. And speaking of the Stomper, Army spent the afternoon with Marvin Smith talking about how he set up that beautiful Chevrolet to run on this long racetrack.
Marvin Smith, you'll be driving the Stomper truck. What changes do you make for this length of a track?
What I've got, Army, is I've got a series of gearboxes. I've got a main gearbox with a quick change box in front of it. What I've done is I've gone 30 over 1-to-1. Hopefully this will be the right combination for this track. This is probably the longest track we'll run all year long. But what I'm trying to do is stay in my power range and still not work the engine.
Okay, now what is your power range? You're running a big block supercharged engine on alcohol. What do you like to run that engine at? What RPM?
What I'm doing is I run the big block. I run it on carburetor gas. I like to keep mine working around between 4 and 5,500. That's a good power range right there. If you get over that, you're straining just a little bit, especially this long of a track. If you're on a shorter track, you like to take it up between 5 and 7,000. But this long of a track, you like to work between 45 and 55, somewhere in the area like that.
And now we're ready to find out who is going to be facing Clydesdale for today's championship. It'll either be starving Marvin Smith and the Stomper Chevrolet, or dangerous David Morris out of Tennessee, the Equalizer. David just recently, Army, took over the lead in the Renegades national point standings.
Could be a dream come true year, a Cinderella year for the Equalizer. He's on the inside, Stomper on the outside. Marvin Smith told us a moment ago that's where he wants to be, but I'm amazed at how quick they move with the Equalizer truck. It comes out the starting line like a pro stocker in a drag racing circuit, and it weighs 13,000 pounds. This kid has already built up about a 50-meter lead, Richard.
What a jump, a little bit out of shape, but he gets it under control quickly. But don't give up on Marvin Smith. He's coming back.
Now Marvin's trying to work the inside, and this kid knows it. The winner's going into the final against the Clydesdale. Who's it going to be? Tennessee or Missouri? The kid cranks the wheel, trying to get across the finish line to go in the final. That's it. The Volunteer State going against the Show Me State for the...
Whoa, look out!
Marvin Smith doing some heads-up driving. Richard, it's amazing. It's not over in these monster truck races till they throw the flag.
Oh, you saw Marvin wave to the crowd. That was great driving to keep that truck from tipping over, and I'll tell you exactly what he did as we see a replay coming across the finish line. There you see David Morris and the Equalizer get the win. But watch Marvin Smith as he comes up and over. He actually accelerates more when he feels himself tipping over, and he powers through that, doesn't he, Arnold?
Yeah, you got to throttle out of trouble. The natural instinct is to hit your brakes. That would be disastrous in this sport.
Well, we are just about set to rock and roll with the championship at the Louisville Motor Speedway. It will be the Equalizer against Bennett, Clark, and Clydesdale.
Power Tracks, and the Renegades TNT Monster
Truck Challenge from the Louisville Motor Speedway in Kentucky. And an interesting contrast in trucks. We've got Bennett Clark and Clydesdale, the Chevrolet that is 11.5 feet high. It weighs over 12,000 pounds against the Equalizer and David Morris. His Chevrolet is only 8.5 feet high and it weighs only 9,500 pounds.
9,500 pounds that leads the starting line like a 3,000-pound pro stock on a drag racing circuit. That kid is tough, works the inside of the track. Richard, it's just amazing how quick that truck runs, and it runs quick for a long time. He just goes out and keeps going. Suspension working great. Look at that. Very little error, Richard. He stayed close to the cars. But Clark's not giving up. Boy, Bennett Clark's trying to come back. He's trying to reel him in. There's only one more turn to decide who's going to be the champion. Richard, what does it look like from your viewpoint?
I saw David Morris turn around, look over his shoulder to see where Bennett was, and he is going to get the win. David Morris, 22 years of age, his first year in monster truck racing, knocks off Bennett Clark, 32 years of age, 4 years in a monster truck.